Hi guys, Hugh here from Square Labs. Today I'm going to show you how you can add automation logging inside your functions, because sometimes these functions are running in the background and you don't have the ability to know when they fail. When we use buttons inside the CRM to trigger automation, we can get that immediate feedback from the pop-up. However, if functions are running in the background, we don't know if they've had an error or something's gone wrong. And that's where we sort of use a logging module, and we can create that just in CRM, and then we can create log records to that whenever something goes wrong. So what I'll do is I'm going to show you how this all works and the benefits of it all. First thing we're going to do is create a logs module. Inside the logs module, we need to create some fields. First thing we need, function name, right? We need to know what function the error has caused. We need to know log type. I've just added in debug, error, and info logs with some colors just to help me. And then we've got reference module, reference ID, and message. Now make sure in the message one here, you do select it to be a larger multi-line field. This will allow more data to be stored into it instead of the standard 2000. Once you've created that logs module, we can then create a function. Inside the functions, let's go into new function. I'm just going to call this one logging example. And we're going to select automation. And I'm just going to create some code, which I've already got. And I'll show you. So in here, I always start any production system function with this level of code. So we've got here the function name, and we're going to call this one logging example, so we know which function is causing the error. And then we've got reference module, deals, and this one here will be the deal ID. Now it's just reminded me we always got to create that argument here. We'll create a string type. So I've got a debug value here, so if that's set to true, we can see all data that's passing back even when there's successes. You can use that how you want. I usually turn it off once I'm happy that the function's not having any issues, and it's more just there during configuration. I then declare these three lists: error list, debug list, info list. Now, error for errors, debugs I explained before for just getting the information out and seeing the data. And then info list is where I like to do for like things like schedules. We can go, hey, I want to know that this schedule ran at this time. So it could be log info saying schedule started. I've got here these are just some templates which I'll use and I'll show you later. Then we use a try catch. So what a try catch is it's a try execute this portion of code, catch if there's any errors such as a syntax error or something wrong in the way that the code's written, and then we log this error. So here you got error catch map, and then we put the function's name, the module, the ID, and then we put that log type of error, and then the message, and then we just create a record in the logs module, and that's all it is, logging a record. So what we can do in here is we go through each of our lists one after the other at the end, and we just process them. If the size of that list is greater than 0, we'll log any of the messages. The messages are created at the time of the error, and then we just add the other data that we know to each one of those messages, and then we create that record. Inside here, what I'm going to show you now is we can create a function, create a example for you. And in here, we've got here deal map, and then we want to get the contact ID. Now this is a little bit of an issue when we do these contact IDs here, because if you go in here and go get the deal contact name and it's empty, then it's going to go and try and get the ID of an empty value, which will throw an error. So we should handle that error or prevent it from happening. So what we can do here now is I'll show you this error, and I'm going to go save and execute. I'm going to pass in the ID of this record that we've got, save, and you'll see error at line 21. It never lines up perfectly, but it's the get function cannot be applied. And if you go here into our logs and we refresh that, we'll see, hey, we've got an error, and it logs that message for us. So what we can do with these sort of things is we can update the code and log these errors. And I'm just going to copy in the code and I'll talk through it. So inside here, we're going to go if contact name is not null, and then we're going to go and get the contact name after that. That way we know if it does have an error, else, and we put in an error list and we add, and then we just do this message, no contact link to the deal. The other one we can do here is we want to get the email address, and if the email is null, we then log that, else linked contact does not have an email address. Once we've got that email, I'm going to show you that we can send it via the API, and we've got this code here, and this code block here will show we know there's an error because it's going to go demos when it should be demo, and we're going to call the API to do this. Now you see here we've got send deal email is going to show us the response from this API call. So if anything goes wrong, it will be processed here and then we'll be able to see it. So what I'll do here is I just block out this little block of code so that I can show you. We want to see what comes back. So if I go save and execute, I've got that deal ID. We see how we get data.code, copy that, put it into a JSON formatter to make it easier to read. You can see here we've got invalid data. The from email address does not work. Perfect, we know that's great. So we know that there's an error there and we want that. So we know the format, we've got the data, then it's in a list, and then we're going to get a code. So what we can do is go back to our function, update our message here, click save and execute again. We just want to make sure that the success and the error responses are the same. So if I copy this again, open it up in my JSON formatter, paste that in and process it, we can see we have the same structure. The code says invalid, code here says success, status here says success, and status is equal to error. So we can use this to handle our error. So inside our code here, we've got get deal email.get data. We want to get that data object, which is here. We're then going to get the 0. Now it's a 0 base, and because it's got the square brackets, that means it's an array or a list, and we want to get the first object of that array or list, and that's going to be in a 0 base, so get 0. And then we want to get the code, but actually we should get the status. So if we go status, and we want that to be lowercase, and I can get rid of those. So now if it does come in here and the status is equal to success, we can then log a debug message. If it's set to true, log the debug, and if there's an if there's an error, we're going to add an error list, and we'll add that error here. So first thing we'll do is we'll go save and execute now, and I will put in the deal ID. We're going to process it. We've got a success here. If we go to our logs and refresh, we can see here we've got our debug here in green. We know that the data is code success, right? So everything's working fine. If we go back to our function, say we put in the demos again, and we now trigger it, put in our ID, we're getting this invalid data. If we go back to our logs and just refresh, we've now got that error that's come through with the message. And then you can open this up, review it. Email can't be sent using this from address. So then we can now look into that function in a bit more detail. I actually created a workflow attached to the log type of error. Now, this way I get an email straight away whenever an error is logged, and this makes it easier for me to find them and process them instead of looking in the logs module. So once you get that email notification, you can click on it, go straight to the log, and I can review it. What I'll be doing in my next video though is helping you improve that, and what we can do is create errors and we'll log them to a click channel, and that makes it easier. It just pops up on your screen as an instant message from the system instead of receiving an email. Anyway, guys, I hope what I've done for you today helps you improve your system, and I'll catch you out on the next one. Cheers.